Greetings to you all, and welcome to those of you who happen to be saints. Thank you for tuning into this broadcast, another evening in which those who are a part of the People's Movement, we gather to discuss the people's business. And together, we do endeavor to ensure that our country is different after September the 1st, should we get to that date in reference to elections, and to ensure that we are able to have a healthy environment for all Guyanese to live in. We believe that all officials, those who are elected and those who are selected, should be held accountable. We also believe that before the elections are held, we should sit before you and present to you that which we deem to be important bits of information regarding our plan of action. We do not believe in waiting to be elected, then decide to function. We believe that we should function before, and that's what we're doing now. We're giving an account to you. We're speaking to the fact that we have feedback from those in the public, and from that we've crafted our action plan or manifesto. We also believe that we should work with like-minded leaders from other political groups and movements so that we can remove the dictatorship led by Barrett Jagdeo. This evening, I'll first ask you whether you can hear me clearly, and you'll also see me clearly. And once our audio and our video are fine, then we can proceed with this healthy discussion where our brother, Theodore Adams, one who has a vast array of experience, not only in being a farmer, but one who functioned in the agricultural bank. He would be here to speak to us about that, because we do believe that we should not seek to just try to say everything has to be new in reference to how we function. There are times when you have to go into the past and bring things to the present, make it current, make it workable, and even make it better. And one of the things we intend to go back into our history to redeem is the Agri Development Bank. And we believe that with that bank, farmers should be secure. We're speaking tonight about food security, and I will have my brother Theodore speak to this fact that Irfan Ali would have, as so often, they threw slogans out there about food security because it's something that they say knowing that many people do not have a great handle on what it means. But when we speak to food security, it does not just speak to the food, securing food for people to eat. It has to do with economics, and thus we speak tonight to the economics of it. How are you able to have food secured if farmers' economic status happens to be insecure? How can we secure the livelihood of our country in reference to its nutrition if we don't have the farmers' economic security intact? And to that we will speak this evening. As long as you give me the green light that our audio and our video are fine, we'll do this. I will also be monitoring your comments on my monitor here beside me so that I can see if there are any questions you have for Mr. Adams. And with those questions, I shall present him the challenge of responding to you given his expertise and what he can do should or when the people's movement forms a part of the governing structure of our country. With that said, please share the broadcast as widely as possible. Let me, before I present Brother Theodore to the screen, to you all, let me please say that I do acknowledge the fact that we are viewed in so many parts of this country. And I heard that through Brother Jen. I also heard it through phone calls that are being made. There are people within our borders, and there are those spread across the world in what you call the diaspora. I am certainly grateful, and so are we in the People's Movement, for your continued interaction with us. And I have heard extensively that you view our presentations, more so our policies that we present to you, as being very critical to the benefit or the betterment of Guyana. I am truly grateful to know that we are surrounded, or we made up of people in this movement who have the best interests of Guyana at heart. We do not seek to fight for positions, fight for prominence. What we seek to do is to fight for Guyana. We are patriots, and that is what I love. And I'm here to speak tonight to one of those, a patriot. We'll have our discussions with him, our brother Theodore. Welcome again. I don't have to welcome you because you're part of the people's movement. You're one of the few people I know to whom I would have spoken, brother, and about being a part of this movement. And without hesitation, you were actually in it from a very long time ago. So we just ironed out the fact that we have to hit the activation button for us to move. And while I speak to buttons, if you are new to, please subscribe to that channel, to my channel that's streaming this broadcast, and hit the notification icon so you can receive information regarding posts and uploads. Brother Theodore, welcome to this platform again. And after today, I will not be welcoming you anymore because this is your platform. So go
Okay.
right ahead.
Yes. Good evening. Good evening to each and everyone. My brothers, sisters, countrymen, Guyanese in the diaspora, Guyana, and all around the world. My name, as you know, Theodore Adams. I wore many caps. Um, I'm a little old, but I'm still young. So I'm here today alongside our leader of the People's Movement, Apostle Nigel London. And I'm going to say Nigel London. All right,
That's
because it's
fine.
people's movement. Right,
Yeah,
this is the people's movement. We're attacking what we have to attack in Guyana with all the people on board, the people's movement, and we would have had a discussion, and Nigel would have approached me, and you know, we spoke about the banking situation, the Guy Bank situation, the Agri Bank, Development Bank, which we know that if this bank comes on board or comes alive again, because we must remember that this bank, the Guyana Agriculture, Industrial and Finance Bank, and it's not only agriculture, it's agriculture and industrial finance bank because they go hand in
right,
hand.
right.
They
Yes,
go hand in hand because when you're doing agriculture and you want to mechanize, you want to process, you start industrial, in different areas, right? So this bank, a little history of this bank, I know it was established in 1973. Um, in the same way under the umbrella of the corporate bank, and then they branched out Guy Bank, and it was dissolved little after the PAP took office in 1992. It was dissolved by Senior Finance Minister Asghar Ali.
hmm
I think it's April 1st, 1995. Right, so this bank was dissolved. I've worked at the bank from 1989 to 1993, where I joined Green Construction in the accounting area and became the managing person at Green Construction, or the overall administrative manager at Green Construction. I maintain my farming all along unto today. I call myself a farmer. But one of the most important thing of Guy Bank, if I can, well, it's a bank that really help the farmers because most of the time farmers are lacking capital in order to
yeah,
invest. And this is one of the ways this bank helped farmers because one, it's a bank that had subsidized or lower interest rate than any commercial bank that you could have found because it was partly the government's bank. They had money were invested from the corporate bank into Guy Bank and eventually paid back. They were loans handed out to farmer or given out to farmer. My job at Guy Bank, I was a senior credit officer after
okay,
graduating from Guyana School of Agriculture. Then we went to Guy Bank, and we must say Guyana School of Agriculture would have been a school that is producing so many persons in the field of agriculture, but they're
yes,
underutilized. Many
correct.
of them may leave the shores of Guyana and even seek employment in the smaller islands in the Caribbean, and flourishes. And think about it, Guyana has so much opportunity, so much land, but our agriculture um, ministry or agriculture development is lacking, and that is why we lose most of our agricultural persons to smaller islands, and those
Mhm.
smaller islands can say, oh, we are producing our own food, or we are sustainable in food, and so on. And during my time at Guyana School of Agriculture, that most persons from the Caribbean, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Grenada, Antigua, they all came to the Guyana School of Agriculture to study. They all came there because I made friends. I still have friends in St. Lucia. I still have friends in St. Vincent. I have friends in Antigua, and it was Guyana was on a roll during those years,
Yeah.
and I really don't know what went wrong.
I was about
However,
to ask you, one
but
second here. I know that you can flow like a waterfall when it comes to this. But the Jenny is also here. Let me add Jenny. Jenny, you there? Let me add it to the stream. Um, but the Jenny, you're on stage. Just come a little closer so we can see your face, please. So I'm fortunate that Theodore is sandwiched between two men and who have got a passion for agriculture. But we've never worked in this bank, in the Guyana Agricultural Development and Industrial Bank, as you call it. But I want to share with us what, in your view, caused Asghar Ali to, through his leadership, dissolve this bank. It had to come from the upper tier anyway. But what happened to the bank? Why was it dissolved?
well, I at that time when they dissolved the bank, I was at Green Construction. But from information, reading from information, because I have some documents, they're saying misuse of funds and all this kind of stuff that caused the bank, and they decided that they're going to close the bank. Right, from some information that I would have read. Right, I don't know directly why the bank was closed, but what I'm saying, it's why close an institution that you know will be a benefit to
Yeah, yeah,
your agriculture industry, to your agriculture sector.
yeah.
Why not try to make sure that it functions correctly, even if whatever was going on, let's say some funds are misappropriated or whatever the cause or whatever, but you can correct it. You can put stricter systems and measures in place, just as how a
Mhm.
commercial bank functions,
Right.
and let it function, right? If we were really serious about agriculture,
Yeah.
because what you find for farmers to go to commercial bank, it's some of them may not even qualify to get loans for agriculture.
And this I have a comment here, Theodore, from SDML. That happens to be my daughter. She attended Ghana School of Agriculture. She graduated a few years ago, and she says here that some of her batchmates and those who attended GSA with her are still awaiting employment and scholarships. We need to speak because we're speaking to food security, and again, you need to have personnel. Because if you're going to secure food, we train people in GSA, in Ghana School of Agriculture. They graduate, and you can't find them in the system. We cannot find them across our country really doing that which is required to secure food. We need to speak to these things, and of course, like I said, you'll be functioning, in my view, very, very key, prominently in this agricultural sector because you have the expertise, you have an array of knowledge. But listen to that. Young people are out of Guyana School of Agriculture and they have no work to do. They're also trying to have scholarships. They cannot get that either. Under this promising government, of course. I call them the promising dictatorship and the pathetic administration because maybe you can find another term to use, but I'm just saddened to know that our youths are being wasted in this way. What do? They graduate from GSA. There's nothing for them to do now apart from wait and hope that somebody gives them a scholarship.
Yes, and if I may have an input there, that has been going on for quite some time, because in Linden alone, I would have run into maybe 30, 40 persons that graduated from the agriculture school and still awaiting employment. There was a young man that I engaged and was having a rapport. I think he's now into um, gold mining as such, but I think with his family, because there was no opportunity for him. And think about it, he had a scholarship also to go to agri school, came back and was on the government contract and was
Oh
sitting
boy.
at home on the government contract with no employment, whatsoever. I know I would have had him went to I think is Mr. Boville. I think Steve Boville's son had a operation, and I hooked him up with Steve, and he did a project with Steve Boville's son. Um, so I try to engage them and try to keep engaging them, but that is the reality of it. Many of our children, our scholars graduate from the Guyana School of Agriculture, and there many of them are under government contracts, and they're still home hoping to be placed somewhere
Oh
that
boy.
they can function in the agriculture field.
That
And
that
I know
that
that's your
that
heart.
is so unfortunate, my brother. Sorry for interrupting, but that come a little closer to the camera for me. They want to see Theodore in person, live and in the flesh. Thank you. It's unfortunate, Theodore, because to know that we have this need to secure food, and we want to speak to the fact that we this program really, how do we secure in reference to the economics, the livelihood of our farmers. Um, then we spoke to the fact that so many youths are graduating from the Ghana School of Agriculture. They have nowhere to go, nothing to do. They're awaiting employment. Speak, if you can, to one, how would this bank, should it be it would be revitalized. It has to actually be reopened, reconstructed. How do you believe that this bank can help the youths who graduate from the Ghana School of Agriculture? Some of them may not want to work with anybody. They may have a dream to do something on their own. How could this bank really help them? When it comes into existence, not should, it would come into existence.
Okay, there's a couple of ways a bank or agriculture bank will help and contribute towards the development of agriculture and towards the development and employment of our youths in Guyana. All right, so we know that the mission of the bank is to make sure that we economically an economic feasible solution to agriculture in making sure that persons are funded. One, so financial support for farmers. It can provide loans, credit facilities to farmers or persons that want to get into farming, to purchase seeds, equipment, fertilizer, enabling agricultural production or increasing agriculture production for persons that are already in agriculture. Let's say you're doing 1 acre and you go get a loan. You can increase your acreage, increase your output or your produce to market, and even also that you can process, get into agriculture processing. Most of the times our young people may want to go into processing the industry or that part of and the scientific part of agriculture, because many of them may say, okay, I don't want to go labor, but
Right.
agriculture is a vast cap that is worn in agriculture. So you have the processing, you have different field, the science, the where you do the grafting, where you do scientific research on different varieties and all this kind of stuff. And I can tell you that I've known many persons that would have graduated with me that are in those fields, that can even help us, and I'm sure they'll be willing to help, because just recently I saw one of my batchmate there, Mr. Pierce Paul, he's a doctor. He was working on the
Mhm.
project where they were trying to introduce wheat, the wheat research in Guyana. And I saw
Okay.
him in Guyana doing that also. Right. And these persons are a phone call away. I have Miss Maudville Boxell, who is also a scientific researcher in Antigua, and she does a lot of work in agriculture. And these are the persons that we can still harness our Guyanese people
Definitely.
that are willing to help us. So we know financial support for farmers. Um, Promoting rural development, supporting rural infrastructure projects like irrigational systems, storage facility, a transportation network to get your food supply around and get your
That's good.
exchange. So all this the bank can help you with. Encouraging innovation, funding research, adoption of modern farming techniques. Because with a bank, the bank normally will partner with with other institutions, because if a bank is lending you money, and what we did in the past, we would go out in the fields ourselves, we will do analysis, we actually did the preparation of the project to know if it's a viable project. That was one of my job as a senior credit officer. A farmer comes in and he says, I have an idea, I want to rear cattle. I have so much acre of land.
Mhm.
It's our job as a senior credit officer now to sit with that person, and we had certain formulas that we work with, and we would produce an entire project based on that, from starting with it with 10 head of cows. In the next 10 years, how much you will have, what is your production, if it's meat, if it's milk. And at that time, most of it went in the milk production, because at that time there was a Litco where we
Right.
supply, where persons supply their milk to Litco, and it was easy market. So we can produce all the documents, and all we did is send them now to the credit department, as long as we signed off on it, because we in the bank of itself did the project, so you know it's a viable project or not. So the money was easy to come. You didn't have
Understood.
to go back to the next process, because the bank would,
Right. Right.
right?
Right. That's
So
good.
you had persons trained in the field that can know that. Then you can tell a farmer, no, this project is not worth it, and you give them all the rundown. So this
Mhm.
project is not a good project to be financed, but we can do this, and you can make changes now to their project that can, and they're comfortable with, that we can finance the project, right?
That
So,
this is good, brother. Sorry, but this is so good and exciting to me because I went to Berbice over the weekend. As you know, I traveled there. I was invited to go and speak to some people and have some meetings regarding elections 2025. I went into number 58 on quarantine, where there is actually communal land for cattle to graze. So there's a co-op and they have this grazing ground. Now, one of the brothers I was with shared with me that they have a business plan because in order for them to acquire the land and so on, they had to have a business plan. This business plan included having an abattoir, having um, what is it they had? A horse race track, so a spin-off. Um, so much potential. And to hear you say that, and you spoke to even the cattle industry, that's why I got excited when you said it, because we have the brothers who would likely be tuning in here from all the quarantine and other places who have got a problem whereby cattle farming is almost non-existent in reference to how the banks treat with them. They don't see the problem as being viable. You just spoke to the fact that you can have a plan. They can have a plan to have a dairy um, operation going on. Maybe they can even begin to process, like I said, cheese and these things, because we don't know how far this can go. As I said, we would the bank would be reborn, but it would be rebranded in reference to its the way it functions and what it does, or remodeled. And I love the fact that you spoke to the one industry that's being neglected so consistently. I don't know if you saw the video. Maybe I should show it. Look, let me show it to show the viewers what has happened here in our country and why you need to have a different, an entirely different administration running this nation, because the neglect is just painful to me. Look at this, brother Theodore. So here, this side is where the cattle. This is the land for the cattle farmers that have been or they're seeking to have established. Because beef is now $1,000 a pound in bid, right? About $1,000 a pound, maybe beef. Other parts again, I think. So if you see here, you see the water's moving because way at the back, they're doing some work. This road, this is supposed to be all the way to Linden, right here. So they're doing some work at the back. And of course, PP ministers, they're involved in certain projects behind here. They cut certain areas so that they can have the land drain to do their work. But that water is then sent back into the cattle pasture, which is in here. Now, this canal here is supposed to be draining the cattle ranchers' land. This canal here. But look at it. How would this drain? Right? So we don't have internet signal behind here, that mobile data, so I'm using this phone here and video record. This is supposed to be a drainage canal. So what you notice, the water cannot drain anywhere because the water is coming from there, over here, all the way from the back. And if it's something else, I'll show you. All the way from way back there. Basically, those palm trees are way in the background. There's way over there. That's black bush boulder. So, you know. I wanted to show you that, my brother, just to highlight the fact that you sitting here, you see the cows, the cattle, they're grazing in swamp, in a swamp. This, you have 17,000 or more acres of land given to this co-op, registered with the Ministry of Local of I think it was what, labor, right? So we have a registered group, about 9,000 or so head of cattle back there, and look at what these farmers are going through. They can't even get to the cows in the middle of in those swamps. How can the Agri Bank, when it is reintroduced, how can it help these farmers to develop? Let's just have an idea, throw some thoughts out there. You see this plot of land, massive acreage. How do we help these farmers to develop that land and that environment to a business where we can, in my view, even export our produce?
Well, if I may, as you clearly showed, the agriculture sector is neglected. Clearly, I would have traveled up there in the dry season also, and what I saw was the cows, they were eating almost mud. You know, there are certain parts of the quarantine you would see the pastures. You're even going up on this side of the Burby side, the numbers. You would see the pastures and so on. But what is most important is that there is equipment in abundance in this country.
Yes.
And we find it hard to use those equipment to prepare our agricultural field, to prepare our pasture, to help our farmers. I remember we, as Agri students, we would go to MMA ADA.
Yes.
That was Myconia Barry Agriculture
Yes.
Development Authority, if I remember it right in my head.
Yes.
Right? And those, they had the irrigation system with the trenches and the pulling of water and the supplying of fresh water and getting rid of the salt water and all that stuff. And that was managed by an entire authority. Right? Now, the banks, these authorities, they all work in sync. And they used to work in sync even with the Lands and Survey Department. That the bank would contact the Lands and Survey Department for farmers to get increase in land, for farmers to get issued with land because
Yes.
we have a viable plan, and the plan is working, right? So you have a development bank in place. It's easy for these farmers or the co-op to approach this bank to say, you know what, um, we have so much cattle, we have so much thing. Now, our cattle's one, they're gonna be losing cattle's because you might see the grass is very lush and all it, but they can be suffering because of that same lush grass. Because of
Mm.
eating too much of a lush grass, they have a
Right.
bloating that happens, and they, most times some of the cows may die.
Wow.
You may say I'm feeding my cow lush grass, but because of the lushness, so most of the times, um, you cut grass like that and you let it dry out a little bit in order to give your animals. It happened with goat also. It happened to sheep,
Yes.
right? So now you have cattle grazing in swamp, and there's so much. Many times those cattle may get stuck in one place. They can't move and they die
Yeah.
right there
Yeah.
eventually, right?
Yeah.
So we have poor pasture preparation. So with a co-op approaching a bank to say, okay, we need to buy, as I highlighted earlier, for the purchase of equipment to do drainage work, to prepare the canals so that the water can flow properly, to make sluice or the cocoa blockage or the cocoa doors and all that stuff, keep the water at a certain level in the pastures. So that is where the bank can help these farmers in preparation for good pasturing, to buy tractors to keep the the pasture grass at a certain level, or even the
Yes.
grass. There are many times you cut and you take. You know, like in America here, they create the hay and they put,
Yes.
so that, you know, when the grass is in lush, because as you notice in Barbies now, sometimes it gets so dry. As I told you, I saw the cows almost eating mud,
Almost in. Yeah. Yeah. So they
and
have
they
storage.
were so skinny, and they were actually like dying there. And that was
Yes.
one phase I saw, I think it's last year or so, that I was up on that end,
Hmm.
right? So that is where the bank comes in. The farmers or the committee, the co-op approach. We work out the feasibility, how many cattle you have, what is the turn, what are you producing, whether it's meat, milk, or what, how much we are selling, how much beef we are selling, how can we invest so much million in this equipment, and what will it bring to you? It will make you, because sometimes many cows may give birth right there and they drown right in the water.
Right. Quite
So
true.
those are all the things you look at, that I can have a lower mortality rate, right? I can incorporate goats with my cow because now it's not swampy. Goats are not really rare in swampy area because
Correct.
they trouble with the foot rot disease, and as long as they have to be in the dry. So keeping the place dry is very, very important. Very, very important. So yes,
This is rich stuff.
the bank can step in
Sorry.
and really, finance equipment for this equipment, fencing, and all that. And most of the time, the farmers, they can't even afford, because most of the time the cows are grazing all over the pasture. Normally,
Yes.
you section off the pastures, and you do rotational grazing. So by the time you come around, this side is grown back. You know what I mean? So
I do.
you do rotational grazing. So in fencing, equipment, and all this kind of stuff, the bank can really finance for these person at a lower rate than a normal commercial bank rate, because why? It's subsidized by government.
This is rich. Brother Jenna, welcome. Thank you, Brother Theodore. Welcome to the platform. I don't have to welcome you either. You're here, and I can see that you're busy in office at the same time online. Uh, but we have a brother here in the People's Movement, Brother Jin. Of course, our brother is here with such a wide array of knowledge, and you can hear how he can, in just a few minutes, seek to address what we saw or what I've shown in Babis, and how we can help the cattle farmers up there. Because it's not just all about rice. People have to eat. We don't just eat rice. As I said last time, some people eat meat. So, Janet, your remarks, your questions for our brother, if possible. I know you're also passionate one in terms of agriculture. You're muted. Unmute for me, please. For some reason, I'm not hearing you. Ensure that the adapter for your headset is connected properly, so the mic tip may not be in properly. You want a chance to hear Brother Jenna? There are two of you, so let me just remove one. Hold on, and I'll add the other Brother Jenna. Let's see. Or let's try this. See what how it goes here. Go ahead. All right, we still not getting you. So just exit for me, please, and come back. Rejoin the broadcast. Um, exit. Re-enter. I'll add you to the stage. Good. So while we wait for Brother Jenna to return, Theodore. So we have a situation. Like I said, that's just a case study, for one of a better term, where you can show how you can help these farmers. Um, and you spoke earlier to the fact that agriculture is such a widely spaced, or it's a vast array of connected, interconnected services and so on, where you need to be very careful as to how you handle with how you treat the farmers, because there may be somebody who's involved in this agri industry who is not even dealing with the farm. He has nothing to do with the farm, nothing to do with these cows, but he could own a truck or approach a bank to say, I have a truck and I need to supply an idea. I want to supply meat. So he has a freezer truck. I want to supply meat to um, some part in Berbice or some part in Georgetown, somewhere in Linden, because you don't have to be. And he said, I can take this across the country. Or I want to do some form of export. This is where the bank becomes so important, because we see that the commercial banks are really hurting our farmers in many ways. Let's see if you can have Jenna to the stage. I don't know what happened to you just now.
Can you hear me?
You're back now. Good. You're alive and
Great.
well.
Excellent. Well, shalom, salam, and namaste. Well, I don't know what to say after this brother would have said what he said. Well, because what I could say that he's confirmed what I've been saying all the years. And to answer what he said about the reason why the bank was closed after Mr. Burnham established it. It was one of the masterpieces of Mr. Burnham. He's a man who understood that you could not do agriculture unless you had the agriculture and industrial bank. Nobody can deny that. The fact is that the PPP closed it down, and they found a reason to say that it was, and the brother was quite right. If it wasn't, whatever the reason was in terms of maladministration, they had enough time to correct it. But here where the politics lie. It was the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund that forced them to close it down. It's all based on politics. As you would remember, when Mr. Burnham died, Mr. Hoyt, when he took power, he
Yes.
reversed the entire economic program and
Yes.
development program of Mr. Burnham. Mr. Hoyt did that. And so what had happened is that for the PPP to come to power, Dr. Jagan had to drop all his policy, ideological and political policies before the Americans made him the president of Guyana. I have facts that I can publish to you, let you see that. The PPP had employed a Jewish-based lobby in the United States of America to get
Yes.
them to power. And one of the many things that they had to do was to shelf the idea of socialism, which was an absolute disaster. And Jagan wanted to die as one of the presidents of this country.
Of Guyana.
Look, this thing is purely political. How could you not discuss the politics of it? The brother is absolutely right. Whatever he said there, I can't repeat it because it was so well put and articulated that I think everybody has heard him. I've got comments here of people who are very supportive of what he said. So I would really repeat what he said. What he said is absolutely correct. And with that's the kind of personnel that we need in a bank.
Yeah.
And he said it himself. He has connection with people who experts that he can bring wherever they are back to the bank, back to form this bank. I would say to him that we have another expert who has prepared a document which I will
Yeah.
allow him to see. And I'm glad that you're introducing him today. Let me say this without any boast. We are the only ones who know, want to, and capable of re-establishing, I use the word, re-establish the
Correct.
agriculture and industrial bank, not establish, re-establish it. And it was there. And let me tell you, that is why I encourage people not to vote for the PNC, because in their manifesto, we made sure that Professor Thomas, we sat at his house for 2 days when he was writing up the
Wow.
manifesto. And in the manifesto of the last coalition government, the Agriculture Bank was the center of it. And Mr. Granger, unfortunately, appointed Mr. Holder, Noel Holder, which was a total misfit, worse than the one we have now today as Minister of Agriculture. So we need to
Wow.
make these facts absolutely clear. That is why when we go to the rural areas and the farmers come out, they say to us quite openly. The last meeting, I and Mr. Azruddin Mohammed went, all the farmers there, 99% of the farmers who are of African, Guyanese African descent, said that they didn't want to vote for the PPP or the PNC. They made it absolutely clear. And they also said that Mr. Azruddin movement, which is we are part of, but must not have any relationship with those two old parties because they're not interested in the development of this country. So I believe that we are going to have a landslide because of the same policies that we were talking about. They just
Yeah.
talk. They say that they want to make agriculture the backbone of this country. That's what the PPP said.
True.
Irfan Ali is on record, brother, to say that his government, he should have said administration, but he said his government, which included Aubrey Norton, that
Right.
they will implement the rice stabilization fund. Granger said the same thing in his speech in Parliament, but none of the two of them, 10 years have passed now, and they have not made an effort to establish the rice stabilization fund, which would have given the rice farmers not less than $5,000 per bag. By the way, the PPP, the Jagdewite element of the PPP, they say that the last coalition government promised the farmers to get $9,000 per bag. The absolute truth is, the farmers in Guyana got $9,000 a bag during the Jagdeo era because it was us, I in particular, who approached the the Venezuelan ambassador to talk to him in 2009 about the establishment of a relationship between, because Guyana was supplying
Rice and
fuel to Guyana, at least 45,000 barrels per day. And we approached Jagdeo because we couldn't do it. It had to be a state-to-state relationship.
Right.
Everybody will know about the Caribbean Agreement, the Caribbean, which is the oil agreement. So when I approached the Venezuelan ambassador, he was very excited. He took the idea to Mr. Chavez. Mr. Chavez was excited because he wanted to help Guyana. So they approached Mr. Jagdeo and they signed an agreement at a conference where they met in Argentina. And if Mr. Jagdeo denies that, I will say that he's a confounded liar. Because we have the facts and the figures. You see, these chaps, they think that the Guyanese people are stupid, that they can tell lies and think. Because, you know, the man, Hitler's propaganda chief, what's his name again? Goebbels. Goebbels said that when you tell the lies, you must tell it many, many times, and that
And it
becomes
becomes
the
the truth.
truth. So that is what
Yeah.
Mr. Jagdeo is competing against Mr. Trump for who can lie more or who can lie better. And I will give
Right.
Mr. Jagdeo credit. Give Mr. Jagdeo credit because he's more politically in tune than Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump is a businessman. So
But
we have
brother, sorry.
a con
Go ahead.
artist here who would not implement the agricultural and industrial bank. He will not. The PPP wouldn't do it. We have proven them after 5 years. And the brother is right. All the things he said, we cannot feed, house, and clothe this nation if we don't. And all three things are connected and interconnected with each other, if you examine it carefully. Because we can't have good health if we don't have good food.
That's right.
And we don't have the adequate kind of food which are organically based. So the reasons why we have malnutrition, the reasons why we have the level of illness in this country is because our people are not properly fed. We don't. Could you imagine that we're importing oranges and tangerine and pine
Even cherries.
and
Let me
melon
just say,
from
yeah,
Brazil?
Jenna, I think we're importing cherries from Belize. I think Bangladesh is importing it or to concentrate or something. Cherries, because we cannot meet that demand. Theodore, if farmers were to say that they need to have, thank you, Brother Jenna, and I know your passion is amazing, but Theodore is really, your brother's doing an excellent work in reference to sharing his knowledge and sharing what I would call the past as it relates to the future for farmers, because we will implement, reinstitute the Agri Development Bank, Industrial Development Bank, because it's needed for Guyana's development. So if farmers have an idea, they want to have a processing facility, they approach the bank, and I want you to now make comparisons to me if you can, Brother Theodore. How could they, and you hinted at it, but I want to repeat certain things for those who have missed what you said. A farmer is going to, let's say, when he approaches a commercial bank, Republic Bank, Scotia Bank, or one of those banks, or he comes to the Agri Industrial Development Bank. How would the nation's bank outdo these commercial banks to protect our farmers? Maybe somebody who's never been in the business. Again, somebody graduated from university, a young person says, I have an idea. Instead of going to the fields, I take the produce from the farmers and process it as a private contractor, private person, businessman. How do this bank compete with the commercial banks? Or more so, we should make the commercial bank compete with our bank. Share with us those ideas, how that can happen.
Okay. Remember, Guy Bank, or, well, I would say Guy Bank, the Agriculture
That's
Bank,
fine.
right, will be a bank for the people. One, it's a bank that either it will be maybe 75% stakeholder owned and 25% farmers owned,
Oh,
where
that's nice.
farmers' money also will be incorporated into the bank. Who want to invest, who want to buy share in the bank, that will be, it's a twist to what we have.
Wow.
So
Man, say that again.
you have
They missed the part.
you have
Go with that
your
again, please.
investment in the bank, right?
The
That
farmers part
Remember,
owners of the bank.
remember I said that yesterday?
the
Remember I
I
said
do.
that?
farmer, the farmers can be part owner of this bank. Although we know that, okay, government, we have a large sum of money, as we say, we're getting from oil. We're thinking
Hmm.
they can finance this bank. But having the farmers be a part of this bank, this is our bank. It's a different feeling.
Yes.
Because when the bank, it's like, if I have a couple of dollars here on the stock market in a certain company, and something is going wrong out there, it's like I go to bed early with that company. You go to bed because you
Yeah.
feel the
Yeah.
squeeze.
Yeah.
It might, the shares might drop, or the value might drop for 2 days, but then in the next couple of days it booms, right? So the farmer being a part of this bank, it's like my bank. So I will treat it right. I will repay my loan. It's like you have here in America, you have your 401k, where most you do most of your savings in your 401k. And you can take a loan on your 401k,
Yes.
and you mandatory pay back that loan because it's your money. You just borrow your money, and it's at a lower rate than
Yeah.
a normal bank. Than if I go to Citibank, I go to Chase, I borrow at a certain rate. So now that's one part. Now I come in, I have an idea. Let's say I want to industrialize some or processing or something like that, and I approach the bank. Now, as you say, we have so much graduates from the Guyana School of Agriculture.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is where the bank in my time recruited from. Every year we recruited, and you train in the
Yes.
field of agriculture. You train in the field in the credit line. You've trained in the field of research. You train in the field of preparation, documentation. You train in the field of credit. So everyone that went into that bank, you went into a specific department to handle a certain part of that. So let's say my part as a credit officer, you went face on with the farmer directly, gather whatever information he got, muzza in his head, and you got to take that information and make something with that information.
Yeah.
Because remember, during that time, many of the farmers we came into contact with could not really mambo, as we would say.
Right.
They can count their money, but they can't mambo in certain way. So that is where we came in as officers to make sure that the numbers are right, to make sure that everything went according to plan. Every If it's chicken you're doing, the feeding timing, the amount of feed you feed, the amount of electrolyte you have to give, the amount of water, everything was documented by line that the farmer could have followed. So now this person comes with an idea. Okay, I want to process something as such. Okay, we have persons that are directly in that department, the processing, because we all went through in the Guyana School of Agriculture. You went in the department where we processed things, where we made ham, we made sausage, we made fruits from
Wow.
carambola. So I have a friend right now. She is doing the pepper pot in the package. She have her own company, Grace, and she is, I think, the person that is heading the department in the Guyana School of Agriculture right now, the processing department,
Hmm.
right? So we have all of this under one umbrella as a bank, that we can work out the numbers, work out the figure, work out the processes to make sure that you're correct. And as I said, you will also liaison with outside. institution, whether it's the Bureau of Standards, to bring everyone under this
Yeah.
umbrella of the bank in order to make sure that our farmers get it right, we do it right, and we're in a
Yeah.
profitable
Yeah.
project.
Yeah,
And
sorry, but what's so rich in this idea, Theodore, is that a farmer can be planting cassava or ground provision. But he makes an investment in the bank. He says, "I want to be a part of this." He buys shares like banks here to do in this bank. Now, somebody could be processing um, oranges or mangoes. Now, this farm is dealing with ground provision, but because he has a share in the bank, when that other industry thrives, he gets a dividend. He gets a payback. Although he didn't participate in that
that
area, he has nothing to do with oranges and tangerines, but his investment in the bank is causing him to earn money. And I want to say to all these who are listening to us here on this platform, our desire is for to produce, I should say, many millionaires from the Ghana School of Agriculture. You must not be trying just to figure out how would you survive. This bank, the idea is to create such a powerful system of economics that you can have aid from the state while you invest in the state and you begin to thrive within this environment. Another thing I want to share is that it is if you have of course land, you have to work the land. A young person, a youth may want to have a house because you want to live maybe on the farm. This is where the bank comes in again. So you can even have a home built through a loan from this bank, and you're competing with, or most of the other banks will have to now compete with us because we're saying to them, these ridiculous rates you want to put on Guyanese, it's not going to happen anymore. So you're encouraging agriculture because you qualify for a house loan only if you're involved in agriculture. So we're protecting these youths when they graduate from University of Guyana or GSA. They're coming into us and they know that when you come to the Agri Bank, you have got even the means to have your first home at an interest rate that does not cripple you. Why? Because you're investing in the same business called the bank.
yes, and
You see,
if I may stick in right there, Nigel, during that time at the bank, a home on the farm were also rationing to your plan, right?
Exactly.
Because we look at that as security also on the farm, because you're gonna live there or somebody's gonna be living
Right.
there. So a
Right.
home on the farm was also rationed in to the calculations of everything when you're doing your paperwork,
Right.
right?
Yes, Brother Jenna, sorry with that. Go ahead. I know you're getting excited and passionate tonight. I
I,
just see
I
hope.
want
I see change.
I want our brother to say as much as he can, because
Yes.
what he's doing is confirming what you and I have been talking and hammering out, that agriculture is the bottom line of everything, as he has quite
Yeah.
eloquently explained. And what we, I don't think that any government of any sort would not grapple with the idea and bring people like him into operation, probably being the manager of the
Yes.
bank, because
That's right.
he has the capacity, the overall capacity and knowledge and skill to manage a bank. And we need to identify now, as we are identifying who's going to be a member of parliament and who's going to be a regional council. We also, as you had said yourself, Brother Nigel, that we need to identify relevant professionals who are languishing abroad and bring them back here to help to develop this country. And he's one of
Yeah.
them.
Yes.
And he
And
has all the links.
he does. And if we go further, Theodore and Brother Jenna, if when they have the house and the farm, because it almost become mandatory. So if you have a farm, you need to deal with certain things. You need to live there. That's what we're advocating for. Now think about when that person, let's say they get married, they make children. We're looking at the future of Guyana. The children will be born on a farm, like Brother Jenna, I think. You're born is so you don't have to you don't and you too, Theodore, you don't have to figure out what life is like. You were born in this environment. See, I
Yes.
was introduced to the environment. My grandfathers were building construction and all that. So I have a different blood in my vein. But to know that a child can be born on this farm, you secure the future of Guyana in reference to agriculture because that's all they will know, essentially, for the greater part. And you create now a culture of agriculture within our children. Even in our schools, this is important. In the schools, we want to ensure that schools have got agricultural lands wherever they can have it, because this was done on the Barnum too. When I was in grade 6 in primary 4, I used to go into the school farm to work, and I was happy to do it. We produced on our school farm. Feed, clothe, and house the nation. Where did it begin? From school. We learned in school that you feed yourself. So we didn't have a problem. It was healthy for us to do. And I believe, I say again, Guyana, since we election 2020, go ahead.
But the slogan, grow or perish. Remember
That
that?
right, produce or perish. We had to do that. So I am looking at some of the comments as well as said, monitoring them, and the youths are a buzz on this platform. Theodore. Jaguar Paul is a young man living overseas, prepared to come home tomorrow when things change, because he has a vested interest in this situation here. How do we encourage our youth to invest in the country and benefit from the same?
Go.
I just had like 2 more points to think. With this bank, or with an agricultural development bank, there's another point of reduction or reducing poverty. Yes. Now, this bank is not only focused on large-scale farming or farmers.
Mm-hmm.
It can focus on small-scale farmers, giving them access to finances and resources.
Yes.
Even improve their income that is coming in and improve their livelihood. That they're happier, they get more, they can buy more, they can live better, they can buy a vehicle, because this bank would have helped them to manage their farm properly, improve and innovate on different things, use different system and research, food security, boost agricultural input, secure stable food supply for the nation.
Yes.
That will directly come under this bank. And export growth.
Yes.
Supports farmer in producing high quality crops. Because remember, we are there, we're the research team. We're on the thing, so we're saying, okay, this is going right, this is not going right. What do we need to do to improve on this? Right? So at the same time, you're experimenting, but you're making sure that you're getting a higher quality produce coming out, right? Contributing to economic growth in our country. Nigel, it was amazing. And to just last week or the week before, there's someone that is a friend that is into the business of making the white pudding, black pudding thing. It's a big business. And for the past month or so, they've been bothering me for if I know anybody coming to bring them runner from America, because it's not available in Guyana.
That's true.
Would you believe that? Cow belly is not available in Guyana. Either way, not slaughtering animals to get the cow belly. The talk is they're bringing the animals now from Brazil. They're just slaughtering, bringing it in those frozen in the truck, in the freezer trucks. And now people are stifling, the business are going down because they cannot get the simplest things as runner to get their business going. There's a
let me just show you 1 second, and then just a 10-second clip. So here, this side is where the cattle, this is the land for the cattle farmers would have been, or they're seeking to have established. I just want to do that to show you show the people in Guyana the problem. One of the problems, the PPP's big boy, two key people at the top have got equipment working miles away from this farm, way at the back. They're so interested in making money from contracts. They put heavy equipment, digging a berm, because they have to find money somewhere. And they created a catastrophe for these cattle farmers, where the fields became flooded. So how do we get runner if we can't get to the cow? See how there's a chain of issues here. So people who sell white pudding who are not farmers, they rely on the farmers. They
Exactly.
can't get it because the farmers can't get to the cattle. When the farmers can't get to the cattle, the farmers would throw the prices up. It's $1,000 for 1 pound of beef now in Guyana. Why? Because the farmers have to go through so much to get to one head of cow, one head of cattle. So we're showing here the connection when people or heads of state fail people because they're greedy. They're interested in making money through contracts. Hundreds of millions of dollars they're making. But what is happening to the farm, as you said, and you go down to the smallest scale, the smallest. A man may have 3 heads of cattle, 3 heads of cow in the back in the field grazing. That's all he has, maybe, or maybe 10, because it's communal land. And if his 10 decide to go far into the swamp, he can't even get 1 pound of beef sold.
Yeah.
So think about when he managed to get one of them on a dry dam, the cow may be coming to sleep, and he catches that one, he has to make all the money to feed his family now. So beef goes up now to $1,500 a pound. Is that real and is that painful? And that's why I showed you just 10 seconds of that clip to show you that look at the problem,
And
Theodore.
in that situation also it creates, and if you notice in Berbice, there's a fight between farmers because why?
Yes.
Now all these cattle are in the field. Now, how do I know my cattle give birth, that one give birth, because we can't come to them, and you understand? So then
Correct.
somebody come in and they decide to own this one, and then somebody decide, no, this me own, and then it's some chop up pass and a this pass and a that pass. Going back to the communal pasture, I remember also in Linden, there was a big communal pasture in Linden. I don't know if you know, but
No.
there's one, it was in the Dakara area. I
Oh,
remember
wow.
Mr. Michael Walcott, very instrumental. Mr. Angus, with Selwyn Angus, his father.
Mhm.
This guy in Silvertongue, the people that had cows in Silvertongue, the Brush and the other, I forgot their name, but there was a big pasture in the Dakara area, right? Where they used to
Mhm.
take their cows, they leave them there. And now if you look in Linden, there's like absent. Cows are absent
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's so hard. It
Oh
is so
boy.
hard. No one is helping. The agriculture sector, presumably dead. I visited the
Especially.
agriculture office.
Mhm.
When I leave here, I farm. I go. I do a backyard garden. I plant so my daughter and them they can get things. It's by the time I come back, they're gonna start reaping and all that
Mhm.
stuff.
Mhm.
And I went there for some things, if they got seeds, if they got, and the agri officer told me plainly, we don't get no seeds to give nobody. We don't get no plants to give nobody. I said, not even to sell at a minimal rate that persons that want to farm or plant in their yard and their garden. He said, no, we don't do that anymore. I said, is there anything for Akushians because it's bothering me? Well, they
Yeah.
give me 12 little packs like
Yeah.
this, 12 little packs like this. And the amount of sign, I thought it was a big loan I'm getting. The amount of sign I had to sign for that 12 pack.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
So I asked about different stuff, and he said, I'm going to tell you plainly. This office is just here as an office. But anything that you want, there are lots of things that are given out, but you got to know somebody in Georgetown
Correct.
to
Correct.
call somebody somewhere for you to get it, right? And that is not a system that works. It's not working. We need systems that work. We need farmers to get. I remember, because as I told you, I grew up in this thing around Linden. I work, you remember Sally Eichel, Dr. Sally Eichel? Dr.
No.
Eichel used to live in Wutuka right there. Before Wutuka school there. Dr.
Mhm.
Eichel. Her husband was something at Linmai. She was a doctor at Sorpana Club farm. I work with Dr. Mackenzie. Running around, I'm telling you, without pay, because I just wanted to be in agriculture. I wanted to learn. You hear me? I went to Sorpana Farm. We made sausage. We made ham under Miss Shekel. You remember there? We made soap at Sorpana Farm with this guy James.
Mhm.
Um, he was experimenting with soap. So there's so much that we can do, and there's so much the agriculture bank can help you, because we use the the skins and the byproduct of lime, and we were making a lime flavored soap, experimenting on that soap at Sorpana Club. But I'm just saying, the Agriculture Bank, very vital to our development, very vital to our agriculture development. And the way that agriculture is running now, where people are just throwing money all over left, right, front, and center, and we're seeing nothing for it. We see
Yeah.
Gaisuku, the amount of billions of dollars being pumped into Gaisuku. We can diversify. We have the same employees,
Yes.
but we can plant something else.
Correct.
That we can use that land to plant something else. They will still have their jobs. We can produce sugar on a smaller scale for domestic use. Because if we're producing sugar for more than 50% over what we're getting for it on the world market, what is the sense?
No.
You understand?
No.
What is the sense?
Tell you where the sense is,
Just
brother. The
You
sense
know?
is in the politics, brother.
correct. Buying votes.
Right?
Buy
So
votes.
It's
but
about,
the,
yeah.
our duty is to make sure the sugar workers know that they would not be forgotten,
That's
that
it.
there will be a diversification plan, because we cannot waste any more money on sugar. Whether we're going to plant vegetables, whether we're going to plant passion fruit, whether we're going to plant cherries, whether we're going to plant whatever it is, you're going to be employed. You're going to be
And
employed in
and you'll have
agriculture.
ownership.
And you will
You'll own it.
also
You'll
have ownership.
co-ops. They'll own the land, right?
Yes.
They'll work
the,
down and own it together.
brother, for that to happen, what you're saying, which you are absolutely correct, we have to have an administration that believes in it, that
Right.
can recruit people like you without fear or favor, without any prejudices whatsoever, only for your commitment and your professionalism. That's what we're looking for. That's the type of administration we're arguing for. We're debating it. And by the way, the potential president, Mr. Azruddin Mohammed, agrees with what we're saying. That is his perspective. And he has openly said that. All the things that you're saying on top of his agenda. I remember him going to the rice farmers meeting in Blackbush Pola, and he asked the farmers about what is one of the most pressing issues, and one of it was finance. And he asked them,
Yeah.
he said, "What about us reestablishing the Agricultural Industrial Bank?" And they were all excited because they know those farmers and their parents, they benefited from the agriculture and industrial bank. I remember my
Yes.
cousin Umar. I spoke to him some years ago when he's now living in Canada, and he told me, had it not been for the agricultural bank, he would not have been able to grow his rice because he didn't have the
Mm.
capital. We are suffering that right now because we have 110 acres of land. We can't get any money from the commercial bank. And I say it boldly. If Mr. Mohammed becomes the president, we're going to make sure that this bank is set up, and those commercial bank, either they are closed down or they come to terms with reducing their interest. These banks are making hundreds of billions of dollars in profit. Could you imagine that? So something radical needs to happen. We need to follow the tradition of Abraham Torre, because he is the man that is leading the world in every aspect of life.
And we the thing is we can make it happen. And as we wind down to a very exciting and promising night, I want Guyanese to know, and this is where we love to educate because that's our natural role. Our constitution, shockingly for some of you, the Constitution of Guyana clearly states that Guyana, the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, is a socialist nation. It's written. Document. So for Cherry or anybody to agree, listen, we remove the focus of that, you are immediately contravening the Constitution. You're against the Constitution. Guyana's constitution, clearly the same Bonham constitution the PPP uses, clearly states that Guyana is a socialist nation. What does it mean? The society governs the nation, the society benefits. So this bank, for example, would encourage the people, the society, to make an investment along with another arm of society, being the farmers and others who are connected to agriculture. Because it's not just about farmers. And I'm happy you said that, Theodore. It's not just the farmers be part of this bank. You can have a machine shop. You can be have an interest in trucking. You may have an interest in packaging. That's all you do, just package. You don't plant anything. You can have an interest, for example, in you can be into construction, and farmers have to build homes, and they have to build barns and so on. There you have a means to approach a bank for machinery to do your work. And I can promise the Guyanese that with the implementation of this, the re-implementation of this, the re-establishment of this bank, Guyana will certainly thrive in agriculture. We will thrive. So this plan that we have where a minister or somebody or the friend could have a license, stamp it, and you bring beef from Brazil, bring pork from Brazil, chicken from Brazil, and you destroy farmers in Guyana, they'll have to give account for that because they've crippled many industries through greed.
Yes.
They import tangerines from Brazil, oranges from Brazil, watermelon from Brazil, and farmers in Guyana are left with their hands filled with produce that cannot be sold because of the PPP ministers. Let's just call it for what it is. Now, I don't know if you want me to blame Aubrey Norton for what happens to farmers today when he can't stamp a license to bring meat from Brazil or chicken from Suriname. These men are greedy and they don't intend to stop. And the only way they can stop is if they are entirely removed from governing this country. That's why we need a landslide victory, to remove them completely. I would that you have 65 seats in the House Assembly to get all them out and have youths and people with a vision
Well, let's repeat.
Driving this economy.
Let's repeat 1953, where they
Right.
got Bonham and Jagan got 18 out of 21 seats.
Correct.
18 out of 21. And that's possible. It is
60
possible
out of 65.
Now, it is
possible. It is possible.
It's possible. We have to be united.
It's possible. It's possible. We're united, and we're certainly driven by patriotism. There's so much more that can be said, and I know that we have other discussions. We'll invite other people. We'll even invite some farmers and those in agriculture and see those with ideas for agriculture to come on board. Because before I go, my daughter, she's a vet tech. That's her focus. She graduated with that diploma, and she has a passion for this. Now here's a young person, 20. Sorry, I don't remember age. 20 somebody, right? Young lady, and my baby wants to have, and she shared the idea, a hospital built for animals, specializing in these special animals. Forget what we call them, but like rabbits and so on, snakes and these things. She loves anything small. She loves. Do you know that this dream of hers was not even being considered by this administration? Because you don't even come and talk to us about that. We don't want to hear it. They don't have time for that. But with the Agri Bank, a young person can come with 10 other youths to say, we have a dream. We would like to have a hospital built for animals. Here you now have a bank, not Republic, not Scotia, not Citizen, a bank owned by the people, where they have come forward with an idea, and you say, yes, this can work. These youths invest in the bank. The bank, of course, they have an account there, and then they would help other youths because they create jobs. And they also have ownership of the bank. Look at how we can have the dreams of our youths realized through one simple gesture. Re-establish this bank, expand its reach, and more so promote the positive vibe where you own what you invest in. How can we lose? How can the youth say they don't want this when they're clamoring on the broadcast saying, yes, that's what you want? because you can't beat it.
But one of the problems we have, brother, that the PPP was unable to solve the problem is, as you quite rightly said, ownership. The PPP, this present Jagdeo administration dictatorship, is not interested in co-ops, and you
No,
cannot,
true.
you cannot develop Guyana as a low-leveled economy unless you form co-ops. Yes, I agree that there's a lot of clauses in the co-op laws that needs to be changed, which will give power to the farmers and not to the administration. But
Right.
that's one of the Stalinist concept of control. What we want is that the agricultural bank must be owned and controlled by the farmers through a
Yes.
cooperative, and they must be able to elect the directors of the bank on an annual
Yes.
or biannual basis. So they have total control of the bank. And as you said earlier, not only that they'll be able to borrow money from the bank, but they will be able to have a dividend at the end of each year so that it adds to their income. And which farmer would not be excited to know that he owns the bank? And
That's right.
that's what we want to do. People say that socialism is about taking away things from people. No,
No,
it is about giving people. It's about empowering people in every sense, in the economic sense. Give them ownership of the land. You know, the Constitution says that you must give lands to the tillers. That's one of the clauses of this Constitution.
that's it.
But has the PPP given lands to the tiller? I had an argument with Jagdeo about, and he can't answer it up to today. The farmers in Hog Island, some of them have been there for decades and have not got a lease
No
for their
lease, no
land
title.
because of the corruption you have in that department of lands and surveys, where you have two factions. Mr. Jagdev has a faction and Mr. Ali has a faction. So both of them are competing against each other for who's their friend and family they give lands to. And you know what I mean? And the
Yes.
Guyanese people, I left, the thousands of acres of lands are given or leased to Trinidadians. I mean, I don't have a problem with Trinidadians or Caribbean people. I want them to be integrated. I want them to open that border so they can come freely and go freely. But the ordinary Trinidadians are not benefiting, and the ordinary Guyanese are not benefiting from the resources of this country. And we need to be
That's
able to
true.
integrate the economy. And we have to keep repeating this because this is what this dictatorship strives on. They find every single thing that they can find to divide the people. Now they're trying, because they know they will lose the election, they are hustling to thief as much as they could in every area. I mean,
Yeah.
we should have the program. I sent you today, um, the corruption that is going on with a certain minister in one of the government's department. I sent you the information, and that information was sent to me by a top PPP fellow who is a, a member of the faction of the Frank Anthony faction of the PPP. So there is going to be a split in the PPP because there are people, decent people in the PPP, who are sick and tired of the corruption, the immorality, and the rottenness of the state. And we need to use this opportunity to get rid of them as quickly as
We should.
possible.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother Jenna. Brother Theodore, what shall we say before we retire to bed if we would?
You know, I want to encourage everyone. You see it before your eyes. You look out your window. 2015 to now, I think our budget was more than 5.5 trillion, if I get it right.
Trillion. Mm.
And what has changed out of your window? What has changed in your direct environment?
Wow.
I would say to the persons that want to be farmers, that their applications are stuck in lands and survey, should we have a change, and a change that we want, every farmer, automatically, your application will be approved. With no less than 5 acres to starters.
Correct.
No less than 5 acres automatically for starters. Because that is the way to go. That is the way to go. Every region will be equipped with agriculture equipment pool that will prepare lands for farmer continually.
Yes. Yes.
Every region. Whether they say it just is sand, we're gonna find something that's gonna grow on sand.
That's right.
If it's pineapple, we're gonna plant pineapple in that entire region. We're gonna can it. You know, many persons may not know that we once canned pineapple in a large
That's
scale.
right. That's correct.
And I can say I'm privileged to walk on the foundation of the pineapple canning company that was in Dalgin, Demerara River.
Yes.
The slabs of concrete are still
there.
had the privilege of walking on it. And I want to see these industries rise once again, where Guyana can be a thriving nation on agriculture. The gold is okay, the oil is okay, but agriculture, you can see your profits, you can see your goals, you can see everything, and you can eat from it.
Yeah.
You know, me waking up on a farm is like, you know what I mean? It's there's no explanation, there's no other
you have to
no
experience
other
it.
can express
Yeah, you have to experience it.
waking up. You have to experience it.
Yeah.
And every person is entitled to a house lot of more than half of an acre,
Definitely.
that you can create your own backyard oasis of gardening or whatever. When you used to look at the house lots in Wizrock, it was like a semi-little farm at the back. The house is way in the front, and the back of the yard is way down there, and persons are rearing all the animals, they're planting, they're doing everything. It's not like the 50 by 100. If you mind 20 chickens, your neighbor calling and complain that the chicken keeping too much
Smell.
noise, or they smelling the chicken.
Yeah.
We have to come together to have or to get this victory so that we can understand the way forward. I would have offered my service. I said, even in the past, 2015, 2020, I said, if they call me and say, come home just to sit down in this Agri office in Region 10, I'm going to come and do it. Whether it's PPP, whether it's PNC, whether that is what I had here. And you sit and you listen for that call, and it never, ever.
Never.
And it would never come. Now you have an Agri coordinator.
It will never come from the PNC or the PPP, but we will bring it. Azudin,
you have a coordinator in agriculture in Region
Azudin
10
will bring it.
who would have never, ever worked in agriculture.
That's it. Imagine that.
Right? So there's where we have it.
Wow.
But I am willing to work for my country in suffice of what? Because I know I have a certain drive to achieve goals. And I want all to get on board. It's yourself. An independent person, an independent thinker. Understand what is before us. And understand the goals that you want to achieve. Understand what you want to leave behind for the generations to come. It's not only about today. I have a grandson coming. I have a granddaughter coming. We have to pave the way and make sure the future owes them to a living.
Yeah.
And I will close with that tonight. I'm always available to come to share of my knowledge. As you know, I've worked, and I can tell persons I've worked in management here for more than 22 years in one company, multi-store, multi-million dollars company, and I've worked for 22 years, the same job, the only job in the United States of America. And if I say that I'm willing to pack up my books and serve my people, understand that I'm serious about it. And everyone wonder, why are you in Guyana all this? Every minute you check. By the time they see me here tonight, sometime they wake up tomorrow,
You're in
I
Guyana.
do you know, if I got 3 days off, I want to be in Guyana for that 3 days off. That's how I operate,
Yeah.
because that's my heart and soul. Guyana, my heart and soul. And I hope that all goes well and we see the change that we want, and we be a part of that change that we want to see. The time is now to be a part of it. Join the people's movement. It's not a political party. We're not ready to, we ain't going to bash nobody. We ain't going to fight nobody. But we're going in a place where we understand the direction that we would like to see this country go in, and we know that we can take it there with the help from experts. We're not the know-alls, but we know that we can have expert come on board with us to help to take us to that destination. So once again, I want to say good night to each and every one of you. Good night to Brother Landon. Good night, Brother Jenna. And you have a wonderful rest of the night.
My brother, thank you so much. Thanks to you, brothers. And viewers, this has been such a rich moment, as you said, one that I believe would have sparked even greater interest in your hearts as we are in this, as you see, elections 2025. And the fortune for Brother Jenna and for me is that we have not been speaking to agriculture just because it's elections. We have done this for over 4 years. Can you imagine that? For more than 4 years, we've spoken to the importance of agriculture. We do this almost on a weekly basis whenever we have a chance to. But as we approach decision day, as we approach elections, this mammoth of an election, we must understand the importance of paying attention to what will make us thrive as a people. It's not just about oil, as your brother Theodore said. It's about how do we create an environment in the agricultural sector to really generate jobs across the nation. We believe that it's possible. We're convinced, and as I spoke to our brothers tonight, Brother Theodore, there was a joy, and I can see your comments, there was a joy in our hearts ringing through when we think about how many things can be done. We can have a tanning factory when the cows are killed. Would throw the leather away? No. We can produce prime leather because these things were done on the burnum. We can reopen those factories, the tanning factories, make shoes, produce our own shoes here in this country. We are doing so well. And to those of you in the audience, I'm so grateful that you have spent this time with us. Your comments are noted. We review the broadcast and we certainly take notes of the same and present that in our discussions regarding the leadership of our country. Because it's important for you to know that we're not planning just to win an election. The focus is on governing the country. It's easy to win, but it's hard to govern. But it can be made simple if you govern with the right personnel and patriotism in mind. That's what we are a part of. A patriotic move where Guyanese brothers and sisters unite to see for the first time in our country, or a very long time, an entirely new political movement moving our country forward. Thank you. And I do look forward to seeing you tomorrow evening. As we said, this will be done at least for 6 evenings in the week, this kind of conversation. And before you leave me, let me present to you an announcement that on Thursday evening, she will be back. Carlotta Taylor, part 2 on Thursday. And in this section, you'll be having a call-in segment. This broadcast will be a call-in segment. You'll be able to call. Please ensure that you know me well enough. If you play the fool, you know what I'll do to you. So don't do it. Ensure that you call into this broadcast with sensible questions or sensible comments because we want to have the best of our sister Carlotta. I call her sister now because she's so involved and so deeply involved in determining, or I should say, advancing the cause for justice for Adriana Young. Um, this is where we are. So remember on Thursday evening, but tomorrow we'll have another discussion and you would see another face on the platform speaking to, of course, election 2025. What do we have to offer? What do we do? There's a WhatsApp group being shared on Facebook here. Um, you can connect to that group and join us as we are able to move our country in the right direction. Brothers and sisters, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It is well. 7:30 every evening, that's our time. At 7:30 you join us for election 2025. Let's do this together. Thank you all. Bye-bye.